Alright, everybody, we're going to get started with regular session at 4:30 p.m. Council has been in session since 3 o'clock this afternoon. Taking action under items 4A to approve the Legendary Water's cash flow budget for June 2025. Took action under item 4B to approve the compliance report for May. Took action under item 4C to table to June 2nd, and took action under item 4D to approve 3 members and repost for 2 additional members. That is all the action they took. Hey, Mr. Marvin. You need a chair? Alright. We're going to move to item 7 on our agenda this afternoon. We will move to community comments. We will welcome elders first. And please come to the table. Any elders that would like to give community comment? If not, we'll move on to any other tribal members that would like to give community comment. Push the button on the right here. I'm okay excusing you.
My name is Don Pearson, and I am a Red Cliff Tribal member. I'm here to talk about what's occurring with my parents, Mike and Joanne's creations, land use cancellation on Blueberry Road. We feel this is unjustified in putting their well-being at risk. They are both elders of this community, and my father is a veteran. Continuing with this land use cancellation will put them at risk for homelessness. My mother is dealing with extensive mental and physical health issues that have been ongoing for several years. This has also caused major spiritual and financial hardship to them. My parents have resided at this location for 25 years since October of 1999. The place where I grew up is my home, and my historic connection to the land contributes to my feelings of belonging to this reservation. My family also has a spiritual connection to the land. Tribal administration keeps saying they want to hold the land lease holder accountable, but taking the lease is causing harm. Accountability is different in displacing families, causing generational trauma and spreading fear. We say that people things being taken from us all our lives and shouldn't have to experience this from our own tribe. Accountability should be a realistic timeline to fix issues. My parents never received fines throughout this process. My mother, Joanne, has been working with Linda, the previous Environmental Department Director, since 2021, but has been told there is no record of this. The tribal attorney responded by saying her email correspondence for a scheduled meeting with Linda was not justification that it really happened. This meeting was requested by my mom after the July 23rd, 2024 council meeting. It was to do a walkthrough of the lease site and address areas of concern. During the meetings with Linda, she often stated that she's seen improvements and never wrote any violations and always approved of progress. My parents are not responsible for the lack of documentation from the environmental department. My mom helped a community member in his time of need and is being accused of subleasing, which was never accurate. It was always a temporary support. She expected him not to use drugs while on the premises and actively look for another place to stay. The land use department and our committee never notified her of this being non-compliant and of the time frame to correct the issue. The matter was only ever addressed in a certified letter stating that her lease was being canceled. My parents' home was damaged by broken water pipes and the deck collapsing. My grandma Tina needed to be cared for after the loss of her grandma Cecil and my cousin Mikey, who my mother traumatically found passed away from an overdose. These are the only reasons she would not stay in her home for longer periods of time. All of her personal belongings and household items have always remained in her home. My father is a seasonal fisherman and is routinely away exercising his treaty rights, but always maintained the lease on Blueberry Road as his permanent address. The issues with the water and home repairs would have been addressed sooner if the rents weren't a priority, or if they wouldn't have been denied by the tribal home repair program. No one in this meeting should be punished about the parent brothers. Their issue not being actually understand from the home repair. My family paid to repair my parents' home, and he said immediately, we respectfully ask the council to honor our tribal constitution, which includes promoting the welfare of ourselves and our descendants, and to follow the tribe's comprehensive plan of 2023 that states the Red Club mission is to promote, plan, provide for the health, welfare, education, environmental protection, cultural preservation, and economic well-being of tribal members and to protect the treaty rights now and in the future. We are asking the council to make a motion to stop all court proceedings and require the land lease committee to work out a plan that would keep my parents in their home and to maintain their land lease. We would also suggest that the land lease committee be reseated due to a conflict of interest with voting members and membership not being made up of all tribal members. Also to consider adopting the Red Club Housing Stability Court model for land lease holders. Thank you.
Can we have a copy for our records?
Sure.
Any comments from these? I don't know that council will take action. It's not on the agenda tonight. It's an action item. Council is willing to have consideration, but it doesn't have all of the other side of the facts to be prepared in terms of where these are at with court proceedings and things that you mentioned. I don't even know that's within the council's authority. Maybe they feel it is.
There's no separation of powers.
To overturn
Why
a
not?
decision that is already within the court system.
Why? Nicole, and Don, can I come in?
Yeah.
I can like have respect for the process, you know? Everybody can have respect for the process. But the thing is that listen, you're representing a model of government and what's going on and how you're choosing to hold other people to a standard in this community when we're tribal members. You understand what I'm saying? We're not required, nobody has any more authority over one person in this community than the other. You understand? We're a tribe. When you come to the tribe, and what does that mean to be a tribe? To be tribal. That is Joanne's house. That's her house. It's on the reservation. We're all on this reservation together. And this happened because of historical moments in our tribe. You know, the whole removal order, and then them developing reservation that halted our way of life, so we had to be on a reservation, and yeah, we exercise our treaty rights and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. But we all have this right to sovereignty and to be able to live and exist in this, on this reservation, in this ceded territory for time, forever. Now, for a board that, you know, it was introduced in like the 30s, okay, that to sit here and then tell another member, well, this ain't your house, and you know what, it's your yard is too dirty, you're gonna have to get out of here, and then it's in the hands of these two white attorneys that we have, like, running everything for Redcliffe, making the decisions, because you don't wanna say, I don't wanna be in charge of that, I don't want to be the one that has to take hold the responsibility for trying to throw this lady out of the house because she let Ryan Weber put a camper there, you know? And he didn't stay there, she didn't get money for it because Ryan Weber is a big drug dealer. Well, you know what, I know a lot of drug dealers in Redcliffe, and I know a lot of people that do drugs. But Ryan Weber didn't do anything to cause Joanne to lose her lease. She shouldn't have to lose her lease. Nobody should be worrying, especially when it's like that. She's been living there, and then because this lease and all these committees just have been developed even way less time than we've had all this dealing with our land with the BIA and shit. And you know what? I have all the papers at my house, and I went through them probably 4 or 5 times to see the history as far as our land and whose land and airship and all that stuff, and then to see what the tribal council is doing. Now, I don't know if you guys are trying to still be a council, or are you trying to be a corporate entity that is going to come in and reach your hand over all of us and say, no, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that. You know, as long as I ain't fucking hurting nobody in my house up on Brizette Hill, who gives a shit how dirty my fucking yard is? And if you guys ain't gonna give some money to help her clean it up, then don't say nothing about it. Because there is money in all the programs that you have to help us in this community. You know, we've all been a part of that system before and worked there and know the way that it runs, you know? And to just let her live, let her be, and Jesus Christ, you know, all this terrible shit happened, you know, in her life and everybody's life. Just leave her the fuck alone. Leave her the fuck alone. All it takes is one of you to make the motion and say, leave Joanne alone. Leave her house alone. You know, you collect money for releasing. We're paying to lease our own land. You know how ridiculous that is? That's ridiculous. And then to hold somebody to that, like, you know, whatever, give me a fucking break. Where's the money going? To the BIA? The BIA steals from us. It's been proven. And you can look at it and see all their codes and see how they're still stealing from us. They don't give a shit, you know? And we're like doing all this work for them. Like, yeah, they give us money back, but you know, that doesn't conquer it. That's not enough, and that doesn't cover, and it doesn't make up for all the things that they've done that have been underhanded and harmful to our community. So you guys have the power to tell the court to stop, because there is no separation of authority. Of power. We don't vote that fucking judge in. You know? And that can be dangerous. And if that's what's gonna happen here in Redcliffe, are you guys gonna let everybody come out and come start picking on everybody because their fucking yard is dirty? You know? There's a lot more deeper things that are happening in this community that deserve more attention, you know, than to be hurting my cousin and trying to take her house away. All because of the processes, you know, and what you're representing here as far as your authority and your overreaching to our community and our lives in Redcliffe. You know, elected, you're elected, you're not our kings and queens, and we shouldn't have to be afraid of that. Because that on top of all the bullshit that we have to deal with daily, and that's been in our past, and then what happens right in front of us sometimes, you know. Somebody's gonna come and tell me I can't live in my old fucked up house and I have to live under the housing authority. And fuck that. That was terrible when I lived in housing. I didn't like it. You know, I'd rather struggle and have it fucking hard than have to go and be judged like that by my own fucking people, by my own peers. You know, I'm from this fucking place. My grandmas, my grandpas, you know, your grandmas and grandpas, your aunties and uncles wouldn't do this to people. They wouldn't allow that to continue. You wouldn't allow them Wade Williams and David Ujke and dirty fuckers. You wouldn't allow them to. They wouldn't allow them to do that to our people. They wouldn't allow that. And to sit here and think that you guys have the power and authority to do that, no. You think again. Think again. It's all right to regulate and do all that stuff, but if you don't have the resources in place, you're not offering them, you can't hold us to any fucking standard. We don't have to follow that. You know? So if you want to take, that's what it comes down to. You know, it's Indian. That's what it is, man. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna sit in our house and allow you guys to come and threaten me? Because it's really coming from you. Your guys' names are backing that shit up, and that's not necessarily a good thing, you know? And I'm not saying that it's all bad, everything you do is bad, but this is fucking horrible. This is just really terrible. It hurts so fucking bad. My dad sitting at home crying about shit like this. Now I'm sitting there in the same yard crying about this shit, you know? Where sometimes you can't do anything. Fuck, you know how awful it is to have garbage around you and not do it? Ain't no better than me just because of your time, Dave. You know, I love you, you're my cousin. So, fuck, I love all you guys. And we all know each other in other areas in this community, not where you're sitting on a board with a label in front of you, you know? And you need to really think about that, because that this government wasn't made, like, we're not, you don't have to be assimilated if you don't want to. That's my right, that's my choice, you know? That's my choice. If I wanna not go and be part of the systems that are in place, and that's a choice that is afforded to me by the people that signed the treaties, to be able to live on, you know, we need to talk alone, fight hurting me, you know, as long as you ain't hurting me, I ain't hurting you, you're okay. And if we can take care of each other, help out, and we can help it, don't be trying to throw people out of houses, and then after they pay them off, just because you got drinking money, or just because you thought something, you know, or whatever. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on out with my brother, my cousin, you know. My kids, my cousins, and he died. There's no story, there's something that's so traumatizing. And then when they die and you don't put them back, that's even, you know, sadder. And so she's there trying to take care of them. You know, they're all even the ones that have money for you, and then you're going to take the fucking house away. What the fuck? And then the lease, the lands, to appeal it, the board that she appeals to is David Ujke and Wade Williams. Come on, man, you can't, don't do that. You don't put her through that shit, you know? The appealing is ridiculous. She was reading, she was telling me a lot of the stuff that she had all the records and all that stuff, and it's not all right, man. It's just really messed up. And don't let those men be in charge of our land. That's not safe. Don't do that. You get somebody from Recca to be working in that land department and working with people with that, doing that stuff. It's all right to have admin, but you gotta have somebody there that knows a little bit more about the people. So you can't be making codes and all these rules that are harmful. They should be helpful. I mean, you know, they shouldn't be self-serving, you know? I mean, Jesus Christ, you know, if you want to serve yourselves, have fucking at it. Just don't hurt everybody else in the meantime, you know? Try to take care of the community a little bit. You make a decision to keep Joanne in her house, to pick them guys off of her, and you guys restudy all your rules for what you have as far as the qualifications and who's making decisions around here if you really want to play games like that, because you know what? When it comes down to it, that's all this is. You know, that's what you guys are doing. So don't do that to my sister Joanne. That hurts you and that'll hurt a lot of people, because if you do that to her, then what's keeping me safe? What's keeping anybody else safe that lives in fucking America? You know? Don't do that because we're a tribe. And you don't have a right to do that. I mean, that's enough of, you know, a revolution, man. And a little revolution in Mexico, because people who are going to off. Somebody needs to say something.
these are not the leaseholders, so if Joanna is okay, with comments about your lease, that's your,
I'm fine with it.
your release.
I'm fine with it.
So I just want to make the record that from the assessment I did a month and a half ago to where it is now is astronomical. There's a reassessment scheduled for June 5th from my department and the warden at 10 o'clock a.m. To reassess the site and to give them a list of things to take care of. The one thing that's still there is the trailer that they have since hauled from where it was to the forefront, and Dawn and Dimitri have been taking loads from that site to the transfer station and getting that first cleaned up. So just so council is aware, there has been progress at that site that I have noticed, and there will be a reassessment on June 5th for the environmental chapter last year.
Thanks for this time. That was going to be my question. In apparently this is still active court case, right? So, you know, the reassessment of the land probably shouldn't have been stripping the lease, but identify issues on the property. And the other talked about and equitable across the board, wherever it may be. There's leases of raspberry that we're taking, and neighboring ones that were approved. Still on this, so as council, I know I recognize that because of the conversation that we have to make sure we have do a deeper dive within these things. And you know, it doesn't make me happy, and it's difficult, especially when sometimes it seems like it's passing judgment on how people do it. And, you know, I'm watching the thing in July, you know, I don't have an issue because I am not going to be back in, and I never really did, because I didn't do this for to have my mentor on my boss. And it was always to be equitable and treat people as they should be, and as equals. You know, it's hard sometimes, you know, to call it a fear, but it is what it is. You know, another thing to mention that kind of makes me happy in this process, and you know, I know it looked like I was going to talk to them daily. I had my good friend come up here, be an advocate. You know, the last time I talked to her, I think she brought a few less that fun, but it's important that we acknowledge that and we still live in a community that's actually a community, that we have people to advocate and come out of the woodwork or out of their homes or whatever they have to stay and don't have to venture out, but we get to look for evaluation. But it's also it's a reminder that, you know, we still have to make sure we take care of our place within the community so that everybody's safe. And we have these sites, we have a campground, Raspberry, we talked about last council meeting that's been destroyed because of this office ship that's inside our community. for our community. We've seen things greater need.
I'm just going to say a couple of words here that's more personal than being on this council. I can personally say that Mike is more like a brother to me, always has been, than a cousin. I was the best man at their wedding, on Mike and Juliet's wedding. And if anybody in this ethnic community thinks that I enjoy what is going on right now, I hope they come here and tell me, you know, or tell it to me to my face. Not behind a damn keyboard. Some of the shit I've seen over the last week, calling me a piece of shit. You think I'm a piece of shit?
Who said you were a piece of shit?
Jeremy Defoe on somebody's Facebook post. No, you don't have any control over it, but you know what I mean. It would be nice for somebody, if you're going to put that shit out there, just call them on it. Because I consider Mike a brother. I consider these two girls more my nieces than younger cousins. And I will not, I don't enjoy having these conversations, but we, you know, I mean, you got to look at our side too. Well, first I'm going to say, after this reassessment, this council is going to reassess also. We'll look at it. You know, the court is going to make its decision, and then we are going to make a decision based upon that. You know, any improvements that have been taken based on the violations of the code. But we have been elected here also to follow the codes that we didn't write. We didn't write these codes. There were, a lot of them. Joanne, you were in the council.
I was on the council. I know a council member right now that followed EPA rules.
Okay.
It says they follow the rules. In March, beginning of March, I tried to get on the agenda. It was denied. Later on, I sent a letter, an email to you and to Nicole with no response. So there has been tried efforts with me.
And I was out of town. And
They could have been 2 weeks later, you could email me.
you know, and here's the thing,
I wasn't
Joanne.
asking for
Yes, I did see your email, and it was a while later. And, you know, that there's processes. You know, I'm talking to you on the street.
you could have emailed me back and
You
said,
know?
first whatever reason
So-
I can't talk to you. There could have been some type of acknowledgement. But then you lived in a camp where my yard.
Yeah. And this is, this is what I'm saying. The last thing I want to do is, take you out of your house. That's the last damn thing I want to do.
Well, instead, I had to go through go across the court and an attorney, spending all kinds of money. Taking out loans. I've got zero income.
If there's anything that this woman is guilty of, is that she's too giving. She has borrowed cars, she's borrowed money, she would do anything for anybody. And that's what she's been doing. That is what she's been doing. My grandma was somebody who's caretaker 24/7. You know who has to do it now? My 19-year-old son. That is hard for a child to do. But our family is willing to help people, and we're willing to make sure that our own are taken care of. We're not asking the tribe to put our grandma in a nursing home and have somebody go and caretake for her. We do that in-house because we care, and that's all she's done. That is actually why she is in this place. She cares so much. If you drove past there when I was in high school, it looks a lot different. You know why? Because she found somebody passed away in the freaking road and couldn't sleep and was on medication and has been just surviving through all of this. And yeah, you have to follow codes, and you're a council, and you're trying to do all of these things right. What side of history are you going to be on? Right now, our U.S. administration is pulling all of these funds from us. Right? In 7 generations, what are our great-great-great-grandkids going to look at when they see that we're making our own people homeless and we don't have a solution for the homelessness? Where are we at?
And then say that you want to make a decision after the court case, you can end it all right now. That's what we're telling you. It doesn't matter what the codes are, you have the power to make a motion, to stop it all right now. Somebody second it and it passed. It can happen just like that, because that's what the position you're in. But instead, you're gonna say, no, we'll
This has been bullying. This has been straight up bullying.
And this also has been stressful since 2012. Tribal employee did complete the process. So then I had one from grant, and then one from council. It was approved in 2018. When I sat here in July, in May, I was informed that my modification was being taken away. The year before, Amorin said the BIA didn't approve it. Now, January 5th, I get a phone call from Amorin saying that my land was approved in March of 2020. And I had Dave say that wasn't my land when I talked about it on the 23rd of July. And that's the stuff I've been going through, is everybody saying it's not mine. Now Dave wants to hold it against me, that I had it since 2020, and that I haven't done nothing with that. And the other thing is how can the land committee be your attorneys voting on this? Your attorneys are writing these papers up. You have Wade, who comes to me on February 5th when I was at the courthouse, request for and Wade says, I said, you want to for Wade, this is fine, I didn't live there.
Pick and choose.
Pick and choose. That's exactly what's going on here.
Let's hold it all across the board then.
We have other people that their land lease, they haven't used it for 6 years. The person never even asked.
I got the minutes right here. It says proves you don't follow code.
The person didn't even ask to have extra time, and you guys approved extra time for that person. So that's not following the rules all the way across. I could go on and on and on, a lot more of this. You know, for instance, who's got a boat in their yard? That was one of the things on my violation. Who's got a camper in their yard? Who's got a snowmobile on a snowmobile trailer in their yard? Who's got a lawnmower in their yard? That's all my violations. And you know what? The violations from EPA and from the wardens came after, they're dated after the cancellation even, the cancellation was already done.
Playing cover your ass. That's what that is.
What is your court date, Joanne?
I don't know. Wade's playing with my attorney, and then my attorney will try to set something up with them, and he'll set it up, and then he won't deal with them. He'll wait until a half hour before court, and then he'll contact them. And that, so I don't even know when the next one is. The last thing was
They had no Friday before last. Was it? Or last to be scheduling.
Friday before last. Was it?
They had no Friday before last. 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 They had no Fri I don't think the judge has made a decision yet. These boards and our attorneys are used as weapons against our community members. Without our community members, especially if you're one who can't afford an attorney, to have zero advocacy. We should be worried about how we can help people rather than stripping them.
Anything else you'd like to share with council?
And the reassessment that I'll send off to y'all.
That doesn't have to happen, that could be done today.
This is a pending court case, just so everybody understands, and
We all know that,
I
we've all heard it.
think there's two different situations. There's one related to environmental pollution violation, and there's one related to you appealing your lease cancellation.
Right, and we've already went to one from the wardens, and we got a 90-day stay, and that's why they're coming there to inspect it, and she said she's already been by there and it looks 100 times better.
I agree, I mean, I live here too. I see the hard work Digger's putting in, and the people she is embracing to support her. Dimitri, we all acknowledge that. So it's a open court case at this point. I guess that's the information I could share with council. It is their decision. I don't get to make motions.
They can still make, I was on the council, I understand what can be done and it can be done.
We
Like
understand.
Like Ruby said, there's not the separation of power. You still have that authority if he's so wish.
I have a question for the council. With the progress that's been made and the reassessment goes through and that passes, does that have any effect on the lease cancellation or not?
In the court appeal that Joanne has filed, it would. I would assume as well that is my understanding, and the court records are open documents for anybody to acquire, is that the cancellation is not purely related to environmental. It was related to other factors that Joanne mentioned, not living there, not having utilities, and occupants not affiliated with the lease.
They have water.
Okay.
They have lights, internet, things like that.
I don't know all the details in and out by memory, but so my understanding is Joanne has a pending court date. And that it could be likely or unlikely. It is in the court's decision to overturn the decision of the lease committee, land committee, to approve or not of her cancellation. Whether or not she's eligible, I mean, there's be some other factors. Anything else, council? I don't know, if it gets what? A rhetorical question back to the family, because it's a family situation, right?
So you have a vote then?
Do I have a
I'm
vote?
not asking you if you have a vote, what council vote on.
I'm not sure what the code says related to cancellations. I don't know that.
I can say this, and I think I can speak on behalf of the council here, Digger, that the last thing we want is to kick your mom out of the house. And if environmental assessment comes back good, which I think it will, I've seen a lot of progress driving by there, and other factors have changed. I can't speak for the council, but I do think that the council would be willing to look at this again.
If the progress keeps being made and it passes, I mean, the work, everybody can see the work that's been done. It's night and day. I have a hard time having that cancellation go through. I'm not sure the right way to word this, but I think if it passes the EPA, I think we need to cancel that cancellation before it would go. I don't know if my authority to say that versus a legal court, but the progress being made is phenomenal, and I think EPA is probably going to pass it as well. I just think there's something we can do to ensure if it progresses that way, that the lease is kept.
Here's my take on it. I am not going to set a precedent of canceling court cases, because then we got to do it for everybody. But again, I will say that once the court makes a decision, then this council has the power, without interfering in the court case, to reinstate the lease.
As the Director of Environmental Council, I would be willing to move up that reassessment date. If you guys are willing, contact my office and we can make adjustments and arrangements.
Do we know yet if that occurs before the court date?
I don't know. Nobody knows the court date.
I would like as early as tomorrow or Thursday if you guys are willing.
But the one thing you can do is you guys can request the court date to be pushed back till after the assessment is done too.
I think that was the original request. That's why the extension was granted. The court was receptive to that, to join the task to clean up the property and come back for reassessment.
That was just for the land use.
Okay.
That was for
The Massachusetts.
I would suggest that someone go to the environmental office tomorrow and have that assessment submitted instead of having it done on the June 5th.
I would recommend you call me during the spring cleanup, and I don't know if I'll be in the office. But I'll be there.
one of us will make a call. What's up? One of us will make that call.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We're still under community comment. If anyone would like to come to the microphone, Mr. Hicks. Chris, would you turn off that other one just so there isn't any feedback? Thank you.
Hello, how's it going, everybody? Sorry, I missed my voice at it. That's a fun in my chemical show. But, so I just, here I got a moratorium letter, so this is kind of pertaining to the same thing that Joanne struggled with. I'm also struggling with, I've had a land lease that I've been, and now the council has been trying to take away my lease. And, I put a lot of effort into that lease. So I come before you, not with anger today, but with deep concern and humility and a plea for justice. It's at stake, and it's not simply a land lease, but the lives and investments and futures of tribal families like mine who have worked hard to build something of their own. Currently, my land lease is under threat of cancellation. You guys put a moratorium on my lease that blocks any potential solution. I had talked to my brother, Jeffrey, who had helped me build my cabin and invested money into building my cabin with me, including the roof. and paying for workers to come out there. And I was just gonna let the cancellation go through them, and I was just gonna let my brother pick it up. And that didn't happen because now you guys put a moratorium on it. So the plan I offered in good faith to preserve my family's investment, it can't happen now. And at the same time, I face threats of pollution citations for debris I'm actively trying to clean, even though nearby sites remain in equal or worse condition, and I haven't been polluted or anything like that. Laura has an imploded trailer right next to her mom's house. I don't know if you guys got a moratorium on that site too. I mean, it kind of seems like you guys just kind of decide who you want to mess with. My trailer looks exactly like that trailer next to Audrey's house. There's no difference. I could clean it up quickly. I told you guys I could clean it up quickly. I could get like a skidster or something with a dumpster out there and clean that up in a weekend. But I need, permission. And now I'm back to the wall where you're telling me you can't use any heavy equipment out there. But at the same time, we want all this. We want you to rip down your back. We want you to all over that trailer that you guys are tearing up. Because I was tearing down the trailer because we're moving out there. I was just having a trailer out there with my kids that are wild, young kids. And then they were playing in there and they get hurt. So I was removing the whole trailer. We were going to rebuild onto the trailer. That was my plan. Little by little, I've always had a modest job here. Living in Redcliffe, making like $20 an hour, that's a good job. But that's not like a job that's going to make a house in a day. Not even in a year, not in 2 years, not in 3 years, not with all this other stuff that's going on. That's a job where it's going to take time. You guys know that. It's unrealistic to think that people have all this time in the world too while you're working. If I'm 40 hours at work during Wisconsin, you can work for 3 months out of the year. You've got a limited time frame to get things done. So I ask you to consider this. Why is it that tribal members who are trying to do better, who have jobs, savings, and a plan to move out of tribal housing are met with silence, delay, or punishment? I've sought help repeatedly. I've sent emails, asked for motions, proposed resolutions, and requested code changes through the proper channels. But those effects have been ignored or redirected without action. They're just left simply in silence. Just nothing. I've sent so many emails that just never get a response back. Called and called for calls back. Meetings that never happen. Those codes are not written by people. They can be amended by people. Motion, resolution, you're talking about resolutions, you can make them, you just have to follow them. But just like I said, you can use a resolution, you guys can make amendments with a motion, just like that. We the people have no independent committee to represent us. So that's like what Joanne was saying. Only the administration enforces decisions. So you're going against the same people trying to take your stuff away. And when disputes reach the court, you must advocate for the very systems that took our land in the first place. Where's the justice in that? We can't even get an advocate. Brian's talking about advocates. This is our place to advocate in front of you guys. This is not even an advocate. You can't even go for the bar. That's against your federal trust obligations. You guys can lose IHS funding. You can lose the housing. People found out that you guys don't have a bar, you could literally lose a bunch of stuff. That is like a huge thing. There's no due process of life. We don't have the same rights other people have. It's not fair to people. So, therefore, respect the proposal along with legal and ethical remedy. That the tribal council immediately pause all lease cancellations, moratoriums, a minimum of 90 days, and should trigger a review process. Committee made up of community members, not solely tribal administration. Such a policy would uphold federal trust responsibilities, align with principles of due process, and reflect the tribe's duty to protect, not punish its people. I'm not here to blame, I'm not here to be heard, because I have children sleeping in a mold-infested house with emergency level air readings. I have a job, I have a vision, I've made offers, I've asked for help, I've even cried in this building trying to save the home. My hands. I just don't know what you guys want. Someone do something right. Because I'm someone who changed my life now. I used to be really drunk, high, selling drugs. I didn't come. You guys all go or somebody else will come. But right now is your time to do something right. you know, with the opportunity that you have up there. And making people, men and women, come up here and cry to you, it's not doing a good job. That's the people down there, you gotta do something different. A good thing. So, please don't use your power to folks who are already struggling. Use it to protect them. Thank you.
Chris, can you email us the comments?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't write that fast, but I appreciate
Yeah,
everything.
I'll email you that, and I hope you guys can follow up on it. Thank you.
You have my email. Anyone else that would like to give community comment, I will remind you that we will not have personnel or other items of specific people-related instances, and I appreciate everybody's community comment. John?
I guess, I just want to know how you guys feel.
I mean, we can speak to the tribal referendum that took place last summer, and the results of that advisory just guiding, I mean, I'm not sure to what extent you're asking, John.
Well, my thing is, our kids are being held against us because of weed. And we got 2 separate cases, but they're punishing her for me. And my child was ripped away from me over lies. I want people to know, everybody to know, because I know they're not the only one they're doing this fucking to. Juliet Pierce, I got her on video. Do you want to listen to it?
I ask that you please.
Man, like, I didn't do shit. They came after her. I was just caught in the crossfire. But, like, I can't, I'm not gonna be a fucking Uncle Tom for a goddamn year to get my kid back over lies. Look at me, this is a fucking man whose child was ripped away for fucking lies. I'm not bowing down to nobody. Fucking leave me the fuck alone. If not for fucking ICW, you wouldn't even know I was fucking here. Because I just want to be left alone. Ready? Okay.
Thank you, John, for coming and voicing your input. Is there anybody else that would like to give community comment?
I have a question, Nicole.
If you would come to the microphone if you'd like to give community comment. Council can try to answer your questions, but items that are not on the agenda, we are not prepared to discuss, but we can.
I am.
The right.
I just have a question. Lot 32 on Buffalo Drive, I used to have that lease at the time with unexplained things happened with my ex-husband, we won't go there, but I know the code of laws that we have to follow in the tribe, land leases. I understand, I talked with Amorin about that. I still, with my comprehension learning disability, I still don't comprehend why now that I am remarried and we are settled we want to get a home and we have the substantial money to do it. We have a home that we want to get on it, but I would like to ask the council, you know, if I can reapply for 32, but the laws stating that once you apply for it, if you're denied it or if they cancel it, you can't reapply for the same one. 32, I have my heart on. And just like the neighbor down the street, he's like, you got a good piece of land. I loved it. I fell in love with it. I asked Cameron the other day, I go, has anybody applied for it? In an email, he states, no, nobody has, but you cannot apply for it. I understand because we ran into the same problem before. I have everything to get a home and everything, and I'm asking to have the council override that so I can apply for that same case number 32. Why I like it, it's already water, sewer, electricity, I already have the green box right there. And I know that, like I said, protocol, there's codes, laws you have to follow that nobody can apply for the same piece of land. But now that I am substantially ready, with money home to put on there within 2 years, I'm asking if you can let me apply for that land. And Amorin emailed me back saying, oh, you can't apply for that anyway if they give you a version. There's already 2 people ahead of you. And I just asked you that if somebody was there, can you look into it real quick while we're on the phone? No, nobody has applied for that place. I'm just asking if I can apply for it. Yes, there's plenty of land leases to put a home on. There's more opportunities opening, the section to build homes on and stuff, but there's just this piece that I really don't. I'm just asking, that's all.
I don't have the specific answer to your question or know the code off the top of my head of cancellations and wanting to reapply for a lease that was canceled, so we'd have to follow up. But knowing your interest helps us figure out what, if, or are there options.
Yeah, because it was already like that, I'm like, well, okay, what happens if I put my kid home?
Is there anyone else? Gretchen?
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. I was listening to my son and I didn't know he was going to be here tonight and share some of his story with you. And I know he had come to you guys, when he was going through the court process too and asked for intervention from you all. And you said that he had to wait. He felt defeated, of course, and then decided, well, he'll have Jeffrey. Jeffrey said, I'll apply for the lease. He has the financial means to be able to do what he needs to do. So I have helped Jeffrey fill out the application and submit it to Amorin. I asked Jeffrey about 2 weeks ago, I said, did you ever hear anything back from Amorin? Because it's been like about 3 months. And he said, I finally called him, and he said that Amorin told him that he denied the land lease because Jeffrey didn't put in the plan how he was going to take care of the existing structures on the land, and because he owed a $100 court fee. In the meantime, the moratorium comes to Christopher regarding the land lease and that it was going to be held until things were taken care of on Christopher's end, I guess. Christopher put his heart and soul into that land. Unless somebody was there and seen the process on what has occurred over the years, you wouldn't understand. I understand. I know what he's done. I also want to remind y'all that prior to him getting that land, there was an existing structures on there, one of which exists on there right now, which is an old camper with a bunch of stuff that Uncle Bill and Louis Bellinger left there. So it's just really hard to process all this information and hear and see what's happening. But I guess what really is bothersome to me is there's been repeated occurrences brought before tribal council, some from myself, my family, other families, about the operations of the land lease process under the care of Amorin. And earlier, I heard you mention, Nicole, that when people have a concern regarding personnel, that they should bring that to administration. So my question is, who do we go to at administration if we have concerns about a particular person and the way that they're operating these, the process for land leases? Because also Amorin told Jeffrey that he sent him a letter, which we never received a letter. And that's happened to me before with Amorin and the way that he processes information. So I'm just wondering, who do we go to and how do we get the follow-up on concerns that we might have as community members about different ways that different things are run?
We can get back to you with that information, Gretchen.
Okay, so if a community member, a community member was concerned or had a grievance, who do they go to?
It depends on the department or the staff member. I mean, you're a tribal employee, so you know the grievance procedure through health services and the chain of command and what that typically looks like. And so it looks the similar way across all the other divisions.
Okay, so as
and oftentimes people call the tribal office if they don't know who else to call.
So as I'm coming here before you, I'm coming here as a community member, and yes, I work with tribal administration, but I am at or with health clinic. Forgive me, I'm not as good as I would be normally. I've been through a lot of trauma lately. But this isn't just a message for me. This is for our community, because that's what we keep on hearing. It gets held, it gets taken care of by administration, but our community members should know who to go to at administration for different things, and that's all I'm saying. I can probably figure it out, but it would be nice for community members to know this, and that's part of why I'm saying this as a community member on how things are managed. And then the second thing is community concerns. You know, I brought up concerns, it was right after my dad died in November, shared a lot with you. And one was the land lease issue with Christopher. And when I was listening to the forum a couple weeks ago, one of the things that was shared was that there is a protocol and a process and always follow through for community members when they bring forward issues during community concerns. Yet in November, I still haven't had a response. So I'm wondering, what is that process for follow-up with community concerns? So that's the other thought that I had, and if I could get feedback on that, on how that process works. And I think it would be helpful for our membership to have that and to know and to understand like how things will be handled when they're brought to leadership's attention. So that is a follow-up I'm seeking. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to community comment? If not, we're going to move on with council business. We're going to move on, council, to item 8 on the agenda this evening, Treasurer's Financial Status Report for April 2025. And Laura has taken a new approach and provided you guys an executive summary in addition to the detailed financial status report. Any questions for Treasurer Gordon? Or I see a few of the administrators here. Now we do need council action.
I'll make a motion to approve the April FSR.
We have a motion by Shania to accept the April FSR, second by Butch. Any discussion?
In discussion, yeah, I just want to say I do appreciate that summary page that's been put in there.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? One abstention, motion carries.
Thank you, council.
Moving. He might be online, I can't remember. This next request is coming forward by the legal department and an amendment request for information policy. You can see the FOIA policy and the recommended amendment. It's involving active or contemplated litigation. And Dave is asking that the policy reflect that those requests are considered active and ineffective, denied, since they can be obtained through civil or criminal subpoena. It has been not a good use of our time and resources to queue those up for decision by the executive committee when it's been consistent denial. I can have Dave get on the line, or we can table it and wait
I
for
make a
council.
motion to approve it.
There's a motion by David. Second by Butch. Any other discussion?
So this come about, from new requests or something?
Recurring request. I don't know the specific case it's referencing. We don't get a lot of requests for information. I mean, hardly ever.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I'm just curious on what stimulated the need for the change, if there are many requests or,
I don't get a lot of them, so.
If I may, counsel, I don't know what specifically Dave Ujke had in mind bringing this to council's attention, but I can say there has been a spike in FOIA requests through the PD that we then filter through legal counsel. So, like I said, I don't know Dave's specific concerns about the process.
A spike means going from like 0 to 2 in 2 years.
We have in the last 2 weeks, maybe more in the last 2 months, we've had more than 5.
Some of them have not come all the way to our level.
Sure.
Probably incomplete requests or just fake requests. I don't even know. The last one was pretty radical. But there's a policy for it. We have a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion?
no, I was just, I wanted clarity on the reason and purpose.
All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, abstentions? Are you opposing? You are. Motion carries. The person next thing is not supposed to want to it's supposed to be something else. For these updates that I sent you, yeah. All right, Amber, are you with us? Hold on. Hold on, Amber. Hold on. We can't hear you, so hold on. Okay, try again. No. The audio is really poor.
Second.
The motion is by Laura and the second is by David for the involuntary cancellation of deceased tribal member Anthony Gardner located at 37320 Gordon Road. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Resolution number
5/20/25A.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Brian and a second by Laura. It's an application from Carol O. Cameron and Trey Cameron for a new short-term residential lease located at 37320 Gordon Road. Any other discussion? Was it Brian and Laura?
Brian, yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Resolution number
5/20/25B.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have it. Butch didn't realize it was an attachment. We'll send it out to council. Actually,
Okay, then I'll
there you are. We'll send it out and we'll share it with the community. It's just a basic land status report. We can't hear you again. Thank you, Amorin.
What's going on with our speaker stuff? That's quite a bit of money in speaker stuff.
I will ask that the land updates be shared with everybody. It's a current picture of what is being managed, approximately 670 lease sites, another 40 to be added, with currently 150 vacant, 0 on the waiting list, lease compliance issues, cleanup and remediation, and a history of cancellations. The next, you guys see those items within your packet under land office, parks and recreation. But that was supposed to be its own whole agenda item. And I it's okay, Butch. We all make mistakes, we're superhuman. But if council would like to, we could add that under other.
Is that under other? I think we could.
Parks and Recreation Committee, you see the attachments in the land office? We could add that under other. Unless you'd like to tackle it now. You guys So the recommendation, I don't know if Lana wants to present, but as discussed at the Tribal Council retreat back in, I don't even know, the last one or two, and then all of the ongoing needs, Lana worked with the legal department to develop the Parks and Recreation Committee and policies recommendation for council. As you can see, it's a recommendation of 5-member committee, majority tribal member.
Yeah, it's similar to the repatriation. I kind of use that as a template. So the composition's the same, with at least 3 tribal members and then any other open to tribal members of other tribes or non-members with relevant background and experience. In my memo, I mentioned that, they would be tasked with management of Raspberry, and Frog Bay. And I was thinking today maybe it's ballpark too would be another one. Just help to maintain those areas, create policy, maybe do fundraising, apply for grants to improve those areas. I might listen to this. Any questions about that?
No, I think you answered my question, what were we gonna consider the park areas?
Yeah, so Raspberry and Frog Bay would be the bigger ones. And then I'm not sure, because the other parks would be under housing, the little playgrounds. And I think the, was it VFW maybe maintains the vet park there?
Yeah, it's tribally owned, but we take care of it. I mean, the tribe cuts the grass, but everything else we take care of with the veterans grant.
Yeah, so it's like last year, Public Works started to maintain or put into their maintenance schedule to clean Frog Bay and then also Raspberry. So it's just kind of helped them. And then I thought that we'd start with Public Works being, keeping this committee going.
Probably whatever goes on Living Adventures down there too, they probably.
Oh yeah, Living Adventures too. So that would be done pretty soon. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. We'll work.
Motion's out there, Joe Paul made the motion to approve the creation of the Parks and Recs Committee with Brian Bailey as a second.
No one carried it?
Not yet.
We haven't yet.
Joe makes a motion, Brian seconds, Parks and Recs Committee. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Let me go to Lana for follow-up on that. We'll move forward to the 11 OVC Tribal Set-aside grant, Diane Erickson. Any questions, council, on this request? This one's been jerking us around.
Good afternoon, council. This is a application to submit for the OVC set-aside, which is non-competitive, and we track expenses or grants that we use this for, and we have one ending that supports service facilitation within wraparound care, and it ends in September. So we are writing this particular one to continue that service. Do you have any questions?
I just ask that council approve it for the determined formula amount, because we have not yet received that. We are submitting this application based on last year's amount, but we don't know if it'll be what exactly the amount will be, so we're sort of just asking for the purpose.
And we will adjust accordingly if and when we get that amount.
So is it,
Yeah, because it could be 500,000, it could be 100,000, we don't know.
welcome to everyone. What was the amount?
229.
That's right. Span having screwed up and said 500,000. So it's gonna have sole source contract too?
No, Brian, this is an employee position that we already have on board, and the funding for it ends in September with one of the current OVC funding sources.
Am I looking at the wrong one?
Number 11, or number, yeah.
What's this, Cloud Boy Consulting?
So that's $5,000, and it's for an event that we have coming up similar to the Rejuvenating Tribal Communities that Oneida recently had. We're having something similar to that in June, so it's a partial support of that.
You don't need competitive for proposals less than 10,000 for our procurement policies.
And we will likely, we put these in there once we bring something here. Since this one doesn't start, it'll likely be for next year, but we'd like to keep our events recurring.
Yeah, there's something else that should streamline the process just to include the sole source in there, so you don't have to worry about it. But you don't have to worry about anything else. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Brian and a second by Shania. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Good, Shania.
Good council.
Thank you.
Next, the item 12, requests to apply for 2026 Wisconsin DCF BSP Act 260 foster parent grant.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the opportunity to present this. Did you have questions, or did you just want me to say what it was about and what we use it for?
This is $15,000.
It's only up to $15,000 this year. It had been up to $60,000 in the past, but with all of the funding situations, it's only $15,000 this year. But it is critical money that we use to support our foster parents and create community among them and provide them training. All things that they've communicated over the last 3 years that we've had the grant that they appreciate. We also get some funding to support them in the needs within their home when
If
they.
the past year grants sent down.
Yep, I'm at 6,000 and left, and it ends on June 30th.
And food is allowable.
Food is allowable, yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
Motion is by Brian.
Did you ever determine or make a list or whatever it is to determine what funding sources are? What funding sources are allowable to apply for based on the amount? I mean, there was a discussion, I think, environmental was gonna apply for $5,000 or $10,000 grant, and they said it's too much of an administrative burden. What was that dollar, what was the threshold? Was there ever one developed yet?
I don't think it's specifically about the dollar amount and the threshold either. It's about the purpose too, and whether or not there's a duplicative purpose or a supplanting or opportunity for collaboration from another unspent fund. There's other criteria, I think. So I am not aware of a dollar threshold.
I just learned from the discussion, it was, said these dollars aren't enough to even worry about, and it's an administrative burden to manage 5 or 10,000 or 15,000, whatever it was. So there wasn't, I just, this sort of clarity amongst the staff, program directors, when developing this, coming in front of council, that if there's specific parameters or whatever, that maybe there's something drafted.
And that's why we asked that they come up through administration, because there was another one, for example, that we sent back down the line and said no to, because it was $3,800 to offer STEM programming at the library. And when we look at the FSR, when those things come to us and we're like, there's millions of unspent dollars and these programs could collaborate, are you willing to collaborate? One, which, and so, yeah, it's not always just the dollar amount.
Just for clarity.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to have something.
Just so it's not only one person's priority or whatever, that's just so it's clear, this helps for staff as well.
Anything else? We'll move to item 13, request adoption of Safe Streets for All Comprehensive Travel Transportation Safety Action Plan. Frank, and we will point your attention to the memo?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking for requesting approval for the safety action plan with the resolution to adopt the plan. This has been a several month-long process starting back in October. We had Safe Streets for All meetings with the community, stakeholders, everything. We put together a safety plan, safety action plan. The main highlights that have come together, the community is really looking for walking and pedestrian trails. We're making the recommendation of proposing pedestrian trails along Highway 13 from North Limits Road at Bayfield to Bradham Road, and Blueberry Road from Highway 13 to Cloud Bay National Park. A roundabout came out at the corner of Blueberry and 13. We're proposing engineering and feasibility studies with possible implementation of that. Road realignment at the skewed intersections, possibly having the BIA redesign some of them. Runoff protections, like adding wider shoulders, new line painting, rumble strips on the edges of the road to keep people on the road. New street lighting and signage, improve the street lighting, putting reflective signage out, and possibly a salt storage shed in this, as a lot of the winter driving concerns and things came in. And basically, we'll put together this action plan. We're looking for approval on that, so we have a plan in place. As funding comes up, these are the main things. We have already applied for the Tribal Transportation Safety Program grant to use for some of this funding if that comes through. There is different things, but we're also looking at, and this will come for you in June, beginning of June, applying for the Safe Streets for All implementation grant. To do that, we need to have the adopted transportation safety action plan to move forward with that.
To be clear, this is only approving the Transportation Safety Action Plan. Frank would have to come back with the other funding source requests. Council does have a copy of the full plan, the appendices.
Thanks for the novel, by the way.
There was a lot of due diligence in that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Shania and a second by Butch. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Resolution 5/2025C.
Can we make sure that plan gets out to the posted, where standing posts our public plans?
Yep, I will make sure it goes out tomorrow.
Thank you. Item 14, approve posting for Comprehensive Community Services Committee.
The only one left. The only one left out there. I know.
Okay, so this is what's that? I can't.
Never mind.
So this is a new committee. We actually started the CCS program back in 2016. We were certified in 2017. COVID hit, and we didn't really have a functioning committee since 2019. We had a couple virtual meetings since then, but we are asking for approval for a new committee. The composition is going to be one community member, individual who's an employee of mental health or rehabilitation services programs, and then 3 clients who are currently receiving mental health
So posting for all 5.
Yeah.
So did we have existing bylaws back in the day when
Yeah,
CCS was?
Yeah, and the ones that I had in the packet were approved back in September of 19. And we had like 10 people prior to these bylaws, and it was really hard to do a quorum.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the posting for the Comprehensive Community Services Committee. Second.
Motion by Rick and a second by David. Any other discussion?
Nicole, we've been through all these, I'm sorry, we've been through all these bylaws and stuff, legal, seen all this.
Yep,
We've been-
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of resurrection. She's resurrecting the committee.
Well, I found emails from you too back.
It's hard to remember it all.
Come on.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 1 abstention. Motion carries. Richard. Item 15 is to ratify the poll vote conducted by Secretary Brissette for the approval of the ballot. Motion approved. Motion is by Brian, second by Angie. You guys are not.
Yeah, follow the protocol there.
It's really quiet over here.
Motion by Brian, second by Angie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Next is item 16, ratifying our poll vote. Let me get the sentence out first.
Easy, guys. I can't even wait that
A
fast.
poll vote declaring a state of emergency for the Early Childhood Center. Motion by Shania, second by Rick. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anything under other? Hearing none, we need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Brian,
Second.
second by Joe. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, meeting adjourned, 6:05 PM.
Okay, while I got y'all here, I just want to mention one thing that's come up next week. And that is that there's no prohibition in this writing code that prevents somebody who has a developed site who's been canceled to reapply. You could reapply for the site. And that's something that you guys have not considered. It was